All right, settle in, turn the lights down low, and get ready for a story that still gives me chills. This happened a few years ago when I was working the night shift at a huge, sprawling supermarket. You know the kind, the ones that are so big they feel like their own little city. During the day, they're bustling with people, music, and the constant hum of activity. But at night, it's a completely different world. It's just you, the endless aisles, and the eerie silence, broken only by the buzz of the fluorescent lights and the hum of the freezers. I actually liked the night shift at first. The pay was better, and I'm a bit of a night owl anyway. My job was simple: restock shelves, face the products, and make sure everything was perfect for the morning rush. For the first few weeks, it was peaceful. I'd put on my headphones, listen to some podcasts, and just get into the zone. The store was my own private kingdom, but then things started to get weird. It started subtly. I'd be at one end of an aisle, and I'd hear a can drop at the other end. I'd go to check, and there it would be, a single can of soup or beans, lying on the floor, perfectly dented, as if it had just fallen. I'd shrug it off, thinking maybe a shelf was uneven, or I'd bumped it without realizing. But it kept happening. Same aisle, different nights, but always just one can. I started calling it the phantom dropper to my co-workers, trying to make a joke out of it, but deep down it was starting to unnerve me. Then came the whispers. You know that feeling when you think you hear someone call your name, but when you turn around, no one's there. Imagine that happening in a cavernous, empty supermarket. I'd be stocking cereal, and clear as day, I'd hear a faint hey or my name whispered from a few aisles over. Every single time, I'd freeze, my heart pounding. I'd call out, "Hello? Anyone there?" Only silence would answer back. I checked the security logs, thinking maybe one of the other two night shifters was messing with me, but the cameras showed them on the opposite side of the store every time. The real turning point, the moment this went from kinda creepy to I need to get out of here, happened in the produce section. The produce section has these motion-activated misters that spray a fine cloud of water over the vegetables to keep them fresh. They're loud and very obvious when they go off. One night, I was working in the dairy section, which is a solid 100 feet away. I was completely still, just arranging yogurt cups, when the mister in the lettuce area went off. I jumped, but figured it was just a glitch. A few seconds later, the one over the broccoli went off. Swooshed. Then the carrots swooshed one after another, in a sequence, as if someone was walking down the aisle, triggering each one as they passed. My blood ran cold. I peeked around the end cap of the dairy aisle, my heart hammering against my ribs. I could see the fine mist hanging in the air under the lights, but there was nobody there. The aisle was completely, utterly empty. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, just staring, trying to make sense of it. There was no logical explanation. The sensors were designed to detect movement directly in front of them. For them to go off in a sequence like that, something had to be moving down that aisle, something I couldn't see. From that night on, I was on edge constantly. I started seeing things in my peripheral vision, dark shapes darting between shelves, a flicker of movement at the end of a long, dark aisle. I'd whip my head around, and there'd be nothing, just rows and rows of silent, neatly stacked products. It was like my own eyes were playing tricks on me, or the store itself was The toy aisle became a no-go zone for me. The dolls with their glass eyes seemed to follow me as I walked past. A couple of times I'd find a toy car at my feet that I was certain had been on a high shelf just moments before. One of the other night guys, an older man named Dave, had worked there for over 20 years. I finally got up the nerve to ask him if he'd ever experienced anything strange. He just looked at me, gave a slow nod, and said, "This place has a memory. Just do your job, keep your head down, and don't pay it any mind. It doesn't like being noticed." That was somehow more terrifying than any other explanation. He wouldn't say anything more about it. My last straw came during a particularly brutal winter storm. The snow was so bad that the other two employees couldn't make it in. I was completely alone in the entire building. The manager told me to just lock up and wait it out in the break room, but I was determined to get some work done. The wind was howling outside, rattling the big glass doors at the entrance. The power flickered a few times, casting the store into momentary, terrifying darkness before the emergency lights kicked on. I was in the back stockroom pulling a pallet of water bottles when all the lights went out completely. Not just a flicker this time. The emergency lights didn't come on. Total, absolute pitch blackness and silence. The hum of the freezers, the buzz of the lights, even the howling wind outside. Everything just stopped. It was the most profound silence I have ever experienced. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking, and turned on the flashlight. The narrow beam cut through the darkness, illuminating towering shelves of boxes that looked like menacing giants. I started walking back towards the main floor, calling out, "Hello." My voice sounded small and weak. As I reached the door to the sales floor, I heard it. A soft, rhythmic sound. Scrape, scrape. It was coming from the store. It sounded like a shopping cart, one with a bad wheel, being pushed slowly across the tiled floor. I froze, my flashlight beam pointed at the swinging doors. The scraping sound got closer. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It was moving down the main aisle, right towards the stockroom. My mind was racing. Who could possibly be in the store? The doors were locked. I was the only one here. The scraping stopped right outside the stockroom doors. I held my breath, listening. For a full minute, there was nothing but my own frantic heartbeat. Then one of the swinging doors creaked open slowly. Just an inch. My light beam shot towards the opening. In that sliver of darkness, I saw it. Just for a second, a tall, impossibly thin shadow. It wasn't a person. The proportions were all wrong. It was just a black shape against the blackness, but it was there. I screamed. I didn't even think. I just turned and ran deeper into the stockroom, found the emergency exit, slammed my body against the bar, and tumbled out into the snowstorm. I didn't care about the cold or the snow. I just ran to my car, got in, and locked the doors. I sat there, shivering, for almost an hour until the power came back on and the lights in the store blinked back to life. I called my manager, told him I was sick and that I was going home. I never went back. I quit over the phone the next day. To this day, I can't go into a large supermarket at night. I still hear that scraping sound in my nightmares. Dave was right. That place had a memory. It had a presence. And for whatever reason, that night, it decided it didn't want to be ignored anymore. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had a creepy job experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more spooky stories. Stay safe out there.